letting the cows pass through the gate while holding back the calves.
Sometimes it'll get so rushed that one of the calves will squirt out. And usually what happens is we'll have an older man behind the gate who will be ready with the rope, so that whenever he comes out, he can just rope that little calf.
We're always mindful that the animals don't get overstressed, so we don't want to have too much of a traffic jam at the gate. Once we have 8 or 10 calves up there, we'll swing the gate open and then let them go out into the bigger pen with the rest of the calves. That way they're not upset.
Most cowboys in the ranches look forward to the branding. You've been busy all winter with just general ranch work and people scattered out, staying in camp. When you start branding, it's the first time you've had these cattle together. It gives you an opportunity to see your cattle and see how everything looks.
You know, it's kind of nice to see the fruits of your labor out there. You know, you've worked real hard to get every one of them calves ready. You want to kind of compare them with everybody else's. You know, everybody's got their own cows that they take care of. That's kind of bragging rights, I guess you could say.
Branding and vaccinating is hard but necessary work. To make it faster and easier on the calves and on themselves, the 4-6 cowboys work together as a team, as cowboys do everywhere. These gauchos are taking a break for mate, tea made from the leaves of a holly tree. In the 16th century, vaquero culture went from Spain to Argentina, where it would evolve differently than in Mexico. The cowboy's military past traveled with him, and on many estancias, the horses are trained to line up like soldiers. These men work in the Iberá marshes, one of the largest wetlands in the world. Their saddle is more like their Spanish ancestors, using sheep's wool for padding, but it also uses leather from the capybara, a huge swamp rodent that won't crack in the wet climate. It's so wet here that boots would rot on their feet, so they don't wear any. The grass here is not very nutritious, and the pastures are separated by swamps and rivers. To keep their working horses in good grazing, the gauchos have to move them around a lot. In the early 1700s, gauchos began to move, finally establishing Spanish horse culture in Chile and Patagonia at the far southern tip of South America by the late 1800s. Not much has changed here since then. These vaqueanos move their horses down from the mountains before winter sets in.
The horses here are very strong because they've adapted well to the mountains, to the rocks, and to the plains. It's a very strong horse. They can ride for 14 or 15 hours per day without any problems.
Scientists have tested these horses and found that their DNA is almost identical to the Moroccan Barb, confirming the link to their North African past.
The horses with the long manes are the colts that are ready to be broken. We'll separate them and begin their training in the winter, but not much. We'll work them 2 or 3 times, then more in the summer when they're stronger.
Around the world, training and caring for horses is a cowboy's favorite part of the job.
The way we break them here keeps them from bucking usually. If you were just to try to do it the way the old cowboys used to, they'd just throw the saddle up there, cinch them up, get on them and ride them.
For many years, it's just kind of a fight, man against beast. These horses now are gentler, and there's an art to it.
We'll rope him by a hind leg, and he'll kick at it and really fight it for a little bit. But once he figures out that if he'll just stand there, that rope won't come tight, then it's easier to get up next to him and put a halter on him. Once you have the halter on, comes the saddling part. And we'll kind of do what cowboys call it, sack them out. We'll get that saddle pad and we'll just pitch it up on his back and kind of just play with him a little bit, and that'll help him to stand there. Or sometimes they'll get away from you, you just got to pull the saddle back off of them and start all over again.
Once a ranch horse is old enough, the cowboys train it to cut, to be able to separate a single cow from the herd.
When you're working a cutting horse, you're going to have to guide him a little bit in the beginning. But really, we've had generations of horses on this ranch, and we've bred them to have good cow sense. So once you've shown them basic moves tonight, they're going to start doing it on their own. It's in their nature.
In every stage of their lives, ranch horses get a lot of attention. Each year, the 4/6 mares give birth to around 200 foals.
I love working with the young horses. They're really the biggest challenge because, you know, when they're born and they're on their mama's side and you haven't handled them much, they don't really know what to make of people. We get a lot of abscesses around here. Obviously the country's full of mesquite, so we get a lot of mesquite thorns in their hooves, and if the mare's gentle, we can go out there in the pasture and catch her. And the ranch foals are real good about following their mamas because they have to stay with them, you know, all the time. Usually if they have a thorn in them, they'll be pretty darn lame, non-weight bearing a lot of times. We usually put a poultice on it to draw out any kind of infection or anything else that might have formed around that thorn. And we'll leave it on there for 2 days and change it until all the drainage has stopped. As long as you're scratching on them and talking to them nice, then they don't mind too much. Just like any other domestic animal, they kind of end up liking it.
Go ahead.
Say, Boots, we got a bull out here in East Ash, east of Bat Mill. Why don't you grab Reg and Monty and come on down here and help me load him?
10-4.
Handling a bull is the ultimate test of a ranch horse's training. It must be strong, agile, smart, and brave.
These bulls out here are going to weigh around 2,200 pounds, and a horse about half that. The bulls are